Well, soon to be good afternoon. This is Bob Bockelman with a raspy voice from last night's Mardi Gras parades. Uh, we're jumping on with a call in show that we do occasionally during the daytime. We thought it might be appropriate. We'll try different times during the next few days, all the way through Mardi Gras. And what we're going to do is anyone who wants to come on can either call us at the number shown on the screen and or comment through any of the platforms that you'd be watching us on. We would like to discuss Mardi Gras in general and specifics, and also dining in New Orleans, whether it's now or anytime in the city. Uh, well, what makes you knowledgeable about that? Well, one, I'm old. Two, I'm a native. Three, I've been going to parades a lot. But my closest friend, who you know is my videographer, Len, is also an expert on Mardi Gras. So any question I can handle, whether it's by call or by comment, text comment, I will text him ASAP, and I know he'll respond, even though he's at work, with whatever answer he can provide. As for dining, for those who don't know, this old man started in broadcasting in 1999, the last quarter on radio, moved it to TV, and was on for 15 years on TV before going on the internet. And what I did, one of my first shows was called Restaurant Revue, which specialized in New Orleans restaurants and chefs. Since that time, by going on the internet, we've created two other shows, Chef Chat USA and Chef Chat Worldwide, because now we have the efficacy of bringing on chefs and audience around the world, around the globe. So if you're coming in from out of town, or whether you're local and you'd like to just chit chat with us, whether you're in one of our Mardi Gras groups that we are currently streaming directly to, that's Purple Posse and the crew of Purple, Green, and Gold. We'd be happy to entertain any questions from you all. Again, the phone number is 504-383-3654. If you've got some time, we'll stay on and see if we develop anything that'd be Rant. That's why it's called Rant Revue. You see the megaphone. All of our call-ins are under that general umbrella, but some of the others have some subtitles because of the specialty of the event. But as long as you see that megaphone, you'll know it is a call-in show. So we would love to hear from you because we're always trying to verify that our phone equipment isn't working, which it usually does. The only thing, we're not as advanced as a radio show or a TV call-in because we don't have a queue that we can put you in. If you call and it's busy, it'll tell you to something like hang up and call back, which is the best advice. If you can hold your question or your comment, and if you stay on with us on the internet, you can tell when I'm not talking to someone on the phone, and you can call right back. So you shouldn't have much of a wait with it. Not expecting. It's hard to get people to call nowadays, even in a call-in show. But comments, we're happy to entertain anyone that we have. Let's see if we make sure our comments are working. I'll go ahead and send a hello, and let's see what we're showing here. Cause again, with my bad eyes, as you know, I don't see a lot of stuff. Oh, I'm in banners, that's why. Okay. Okay, comments should be open. So again, any Facebook, I'm not sure about YouTube comments. They said for now. There's one of them that's still pending. Instagram we don't do, of course, because they don't allow us. LinkedIn Live and Twitter. I think it might be Twitter comments that aren't showing. So if you're on Twitter and you make a comment and I don't address it, that's probably the reason, because I show all the comments that are on the platforms that allow comments show here and which platform you're on. So we'd be happy to entertain anything for those who are not familiar with Mardi Gras. As you know, we're not going to go back to the history necessarily today, but we're in the throes of the Mardi Gras parade season. Most of the balls are finished except for the ones that actually follow a parade, and those are called different names because they don't follow most of them do not follow the traditional ball format. They are more grandiose dinners and parties when the floats may even come into the location. They go all night with all kinds of live talent, quite enjoyable, and oftentimes open to purchase tickets for such if you know a member or know a way of contacting the website when they have availability. So if you're in town and you'd like to see what it or spend the whole evening, because these things go into the wee hours of the morning, and you get there very early. Now I still think most of them require you to have formal dress attire for men and also ladies, but you can check with that if you contact or know a member and you decide you'd like to go to one of their after parties. Let's call it after ball parties. For those who have followed us, if you haven't, our channel R space REVUE is permanently on YouTube, and you can go back and see a lot of old programs. We've been streaming. I'll get it. Uh, Parades this year, starting back since last a week ago tomorrow. And that was a Friday Metairie parade. Then we did some on Saturday night, I believe, Sunday day and night. So there'll be a few on the channel there. And if you're there, I'd like to subscribe. We'd be happy, delighted to have you. That way you'll get notification not only of the parade shows, but any shows that we do, even this particular one. So, and you'll see that we have 13 categories of programming involving artists, involving chefs, as we just spoke, you name it. Some of them we're still waiting to launch because we can't get a co-host, like our wine show or spirit show. Our travel show has been up and down. Our real estate been up and down. But I think you'll find something of interest, whether it's Mardi Gras, which is, of course, the most important subject right now. So if you'd like to call in, his number is 504-383-3654. As I said, I can take one call at a time. So if it gives you a message and you really would like to get involved with the questions on the phone, just call back. Pay attention to the show and see when I hang up from answering a question. Or send it on a comment. We would love to entertain, and I got to use my trusty magnifying glass because of these bad eyes, but I will do my best to answer any question you have, or just to say hello. We'd love to know where you're commenting from, okay, whether it's local or out, or where you originate from and you're visiting, anything like that. We can't necessarily tell you about hotel availabilities or parking availabilities. We can steer you away from some, or say, it's really a good hotel if you could get it. But by now, if you don't have such, you need to check on some of the Mardi Gras Facebook groups. And we mentioned Purple Posse, Mardi Gras Memorabilia, Doubloons, Mardi Gras Crew of Green, Purple, Green, and Gold. Those will have people who will, or just general Facebook, people in New Orleans who have extra rooms because they bought too many, or that people didn't come, or ball of it. So there's a lot of things on there, but it can't guarantee it. It's just you got to really monitor it closely to see if. And also, we put a word of caution because there have been scams over the years, so we cannot guarantee everything that you find, as you know, on the internet is 100% accurate. But you can always check it with the hotel and if they're selling hotel rooms. But please call us. I've answered several questions on Facebook this morning on dining, because people will throw out, especially coming from out of town, they'll throw out a question, well, where's the best place to have breakfast? Well, again, being in the business for so long with regard to visiting restaurants, commenting, reviewing restaurants, I always ask the caller or the questionnaire a couple of questions. I put it back in their cart, asking, like, what are your preferences in food, in ambiance? What are your taboos? Are there any places in New Orleans that you're either afraid or unwilling to travel because of crime or because of transportation? So if you give me a few more specifics, I can narrow down and give you, I think, a pretty good opportunity. So this morning they were throwing out Mothers, which a friend of mine, a high school graduate who's deceased now, owns a very well-known restaurant. It's been well-known for years. It was really brought into notoriety by the famous actress, singer Bette Midler. Bette Midler came to New Orleans a lot because when her child or children, I forget if she has more than one, were growing up, She befriended a very close friend of mine's family, and their daughter actually became her nanny and traveled to Hollywood, around the world with her. So Beth would make not only regular appearances here for commercial reasons, but also come. And she let it be known that's our favorite place. Now, for those, because of that recommendation or because of its existence, our origination is on Pardras Avenue, Partridge Street, I believe, which is a large double boulevard that eventually passes right by our Superdome, which is our football stadium. And that actually was what brought that street into fame. Years ago, those were all just certain parts, just farmland, railroad tracks. When we built the Superdome in the 60s, all of a sudden that became another mega center of our city. High rises with hotels, buildings grew up, commerce really developed all the way to the river. So it was very, very important. At the river were a lot of warehouses that would service the boats as they would come in. The union warehouses would men would unload boats because we still are, I think, the second or third largest port for many years. We were maybe the largest port in the history of the United States. And what would happen is Mother's actually was a breakfast place predominantly associated with the young longshoremen. These men would work all night, early in the morning. So about 5 or 6 o'clock, they were hungry, sometimes for breakfast or lunch. It's only a 2 block walk from the river to Mother's. So they would get in line and go ahead and get their breakfast or even at lunch at that time of the morning. That's how it became famous. It also became famous for one of its poor boys. And hopefully you know what a poor boy is. That's I guess you call it a subway for those of them. I know there's another name with the H, but done on French bread, which what we really proliferate here in the city, and decorated with all kind of accessories: lettuce, tomato, pickles, onions, etc. Anyway, all types of ingredients can be included in a po' boy. What they did was put together a sandwich they call the Ferdi, Ferdi. I believe it's ham or brisket. I haven't had one in 30, 40 years, folks. And I was just in there over the weekend because it was the only place we could get in for breakfast. Excuse me. Um, the problem I don't like it is I don't like, and I'm a snob here. I don't go to buffets. I don't go to cafeterias. And it's set up cafeteria style because of its origination. So when you go in, well, first of all, you'll see most of the time, certainly in the morning, but all the way through sometimes to lunch. They only open, I think, to the early afternoon. I'm not sure their closing time. You can find that out during a Google search or something. Uh, but there's usually long lines and you wait single file, of course, like in elementary school years ago, outside and inside. Once you get inside, it's just like a cafeteria. You go through the food is all in front of you. It's served by created by the chefs, the cooks, and the help. And of course, there's a bar. You walk between that, and you come down. They do serve you when you get to your table. They bring it to you, so it's not like you have to carry all the food. I think it's a good place to check off your bucket list. To say it's the best place around for breakfast or lunch, I would take deference to that. We have so many, and it doesn't have to be fine dining. Several po' boy places are so fantastic lunch sandwiches that are relatively inexpensive. Not like when I was growing up. I think probably minimum of 10 to 15, $16 a serving. And there's two sizes, smalls and large. So if you don't have the big appetite, like I can't do anymore, you get a small, which is about 6 inches or maybe a little smaller than that. I doubt it. Anyway, so first thing I would say is that for all those people who were really pioneering mothers, it's a good place to visit. If it's the only place you're going to eat here during the Mardi Gras or one of the few, I would not recommend it, especially if you have to wait in line. I mean, I'm a tickler in line waiting. There's no reservations. It's no tablecloths. It's that kind of bistro style. Anyway, it's certainly edible. It's good to say you went to Mother's because it's so well known. And I'm sure you'll find some of the things that you like. They have American breakfast. They have other things they do, and sandwiches. I don't know if they do plates anymore, full plates. So, but again, it won't be really exotic stuff. So don't look for, hey, here's really representative New Orleans adventurous cooking. Absolutely not. and some of our staple foods, and some of those you can find around the nation in varying degrees of quality, as you know. Again, folks, we're here for a while to see if anybody at lunch or anybody can pick up the signal. Um, the phone number 504-383-3654. We'd love to hear from you directly about any question about Mardi Gras or dining, or send a comment in on any of our channels. As you know, we normally broadcast on Facebook. We have 3 channels, but because we've added the Mardi Gras Facebook groups during this week, 2 of our channels will not be carrying the signal live. Our main channel under my name, Bob Bockelman, if you can try and spell that, Boeckelman. You can find us on Facebook directly. If you're on Facebook and you want to look up one of those Facebook groups, it's search for Purple Posse, Posse, and there'll be a purple heart logo, and you can log in there. And of course, they have to approve you probably for membership. But most of these groups, because they're getting so many people for the last 2-3 weeks, they're approving, I would say 95% almost instantaneously. So that's what's good. They have usually several administrators. The crew of Purple, uh, green, and gold. The administrator that I deal with on Purple Posse is Jovan Rio. The administrator that I deal with for the crew of Purple, green, and gold is Aldi. Forget my name. Aldi. Anyway, young lady, very, very, very nice. Anyway, besides the Facebook groups and my Facebook account, you can find us on YouTube. And that's what I encourage if you have access to YouTube, because you can subscribe to the channel for free while you're there. And you'll always be notified when we do, because like we're doing pop-ups almost each night for parades. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we usually schedule all of our shows in advance, usually a week when it's a real scheduled show, and we post the announcements in all of our platforms. But R space REVUE is our channel, and you can catch this show as well as any others on that channel all the way back. So you can see way too long for most of you people to watch, I'm sure. In addition, you can also see us on LinkedIn Live, where it's R space REVUE, or Twitter Live, which is Bockelman Bob. For some reason, they reversed it, and it's under that name. So, or it could be under the new deal, but I think it's under Bockelman Bob if you follow Twitter. Anyway, all of our programs are predominantly 1 hour, which is, because I have a TV background and all of our shows were live. I've always been live, never been scripted, for the good or the bad of it, people. And it's always been an hour format. So by today's standards, it's unheard of unless you really are a TV aficionado. Some of them are longer, and the majority of the ones are longer are like the parades. One parade we filmed over the weekend live was over an hour and maybe 45 minutes, and even then we better cut it short. So some of them are short. Last night, 45 minutes to an hour. For those who would like to go back and see the ones we've done this year, the first one, as I mentioned last Friday, was called Excalibur. So the easiest way to do it is search when you get to our review by channel, which has that little picture of me in a circle in a red shirt. Very small, you probably can't make it out. But anyway, if you get that, then you can search for Royal Revue, REVUE. And then you'll see some of the parades, some of the most recent shows right on the home screen. But you can search and you'll see all. So the first one would be a week ago, Friday, which would be February the 18th. Excalibur, it was an evening parade, but now on YouTube you can see it anytime. It was a combined parade where the Metairie crew invited a smaller crew of 100 ladies from Baton Rouge, with a 100-year-old organization that never had a chance to parade because of not big numbers and the expense, etc., plus the routes in Baton Rouge. So they combined and were able to be afforded positions on floats, or their own floats, some of them occupied, in the Excalibur parade. So that'll give you a taste of what a Metairie are. And Metairie, or Jefferson Parish, is our adjacent county. We call them parishes because of the French Napoleonic Code, but don't get thrown. So it's not that far, 10 miles at the most from the majority of New Orleans. Now, after that, on the weekend, Let's see if we can remember them all. Saturday we did the if we did day parades, I've forgotten. I know we did Femme Fatale, a partial Partial, meaning we didn't see all of the parade, about 18 of the perhaps 30 floats. We also did that night the Sparta Phoenix. Sparta and Phoenix is again a hybrid, where Sparta is an old line, male only New Orleans marching parade group crew, and it was supplemented by an offshoot of last night's parade that has been decimated by basically by I don't want to say scandal, but controversial things that have happened and developed. Many of those members have moved on to form new groups. One of those groups is Phoenix, Rising from the Ashes, has about 300, maybe 400 members, and they participated with the Sparta Phoenix Parade. So that'll be on last Saturday night. Okay? Some of them will have some of the maids or the queens intermesh with the kings and queens of the other parade. Some of them will be wholly the members of the particular organization that's passing at the time. All right, Sunday. Again, this old memory, you got to pardon it. I believe we did some day ones, and I know we did. Well, the most important day one was King Arthur, which was a very long one. We got most of it, but Tom, we were filming it, both of those parades on Saturday and Sunday. We were filming at the end of the parade, within a few blocks. So it's much later than the starting time. So it was, but that still was finished around 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So give about 2 hours before that. Again, you don't need to know that if you're searching for it now. Just look for King Arthur. Look for the title King Arthur. Uh, Monday night we had no parades. Monday and Tuesday, historically over the years, we have not had a parade. However, this year we had the first Tuesday night parade, and it was across the river in a different parish or county, Jefferson again, and it was called the Culinary Queens of New Orleans, founded by female chefs who predominantly live on the west bank of our river, and other ladies and maybe gentlemen in the hospitality area, specifically food and beverage information. They put on, I believe it was a 17 parade float. Unfortunately, it was plagued with long, long spaces in between floats that were half filled and just dragged on so long that we did not see beyond. We missed about the last 2 or 3 floats, but it'll be one to be difficult until we can get after Mardi Gras and maybe edit. We will then hopefully edit the film that's recorded on the archives of YouTube. So we'll take out those long waits. So it'll reduce the running time much longer than what it is. Plus, it won't give you that impatience to have to get up and leave or cut it off anyway. Last night we did 2 parades. We were only scheduled to do one. The first one is the crew of Druids, which is an interesting crew. It was evolved from another crew. And to protect their identities, they always wear almost like monks' robes, done in black with a hood. And they wear a cone head cone. Last night was beautiful. They were gold with black symbols on it. And they wear the very famous French and I can't remember because of my old age. A wonderful thing that is mimicked from wonderful caricature portrait of the Frenchman from years ago, almost like a Cyrano de Bergerac with the long curly mustache. And anyway, but the faces aren't revealed. It's all to preserve the identity of the crew members. I did learn something interesting last night that every Druid member belongs to another group, riding group, or parade only, a parade or ball other than Druids. So that's very interesting. I mean, it's common, but not to say that every member does. So now, the reason we were filming last night was for the crew of NYX. NYX, as I mentioned, became the largest female parade in our city, or top 2 at the same time, with about 32 to 3,500 members. A huge 40 some odd floats or longer. And remember, folks, we call floats the first unit. Sometimes there's multiple floats attached to each other in tandem, so we call those tandems. There can be 2 all the way up to the ones coming on Saturday that have 9 attachments. But it's still only counted on 1 float because there's a limit in New Orleans of 34, 37 floats. I forgot the number. So in order to bypass the gated system, that's how they developed tandem floats. But again, Nick's was just super popular because of being an all-female crew, a new crew, wonderful sisterhood, not only on the floats, but all during the year. And they ran into some very controversial situations, which I'm not going to belie here. Because of that, they went from 3,200 down to their membership alleged last night was 240. 200 versus 40 versus 3,200. The most floats they can muster up was 17 floats as opposed to 40 or 34, and none of those were tandem. And many often were. We also have double decker floats where you can ride upstairs and downstairs. Many of those, the top deck was empty, so it wasn't filled by any means. It was, of course, disappointing, and there was a big protest, not only from its former members, but a kickback from the population as a whole. So it surely was probably not certainly not as attended as it was before. So much so that the subject of much of the controversy, the founder and captain was nowhere to be seen, even though allegedly all kind of rumors that she was hidden inside behind a mask or was in one of the limousines in between the floats. Who knows? Anyway, but she was certainly not visible, whereas previously her float was prior to what they called the goddess. They didn't have a queen. She was numero uno all the way through. And this was her first year of perhaps shape. She's still proud of herself and hopes to keep the organization going, I guess. New Orleans not only has a maximum number of floats, it has a minimum number of riders, and I believe that's 200. Now, whether she met that by telling them that she had 240, who knows? Nobody's going to sit there and count those riders. But you also can tell when a float is poorly staffed by the number of vacancies up, below, etc., and whether there's any tandem units. All right. Bringing you up to today. Again, today's float, there are 3 parades. And I know I'm going to screw these up. The first one might be Chaos. I'm not sure. It's another one of these kind of mystery, sarcastic groups. And we love that sarcasm and the tomfoolery that satirize our city, our politicians, national situations. But I'm not sure on that. Okay, and I think they wear skull faces, and maybe my friend will correct me and let us know. Other than that, the second one is Babylon. Babylon is again another one of these old time, traditional, maybe 100 years or more parade, male dominated. In other words, originally all the parades were only males and predominantly Caucasians. Females, other nationalities were not allowed. It was a very, whatever the proper term for that, I don't say racist, but close to racist, and maybe racist is a good term. Society of usually wealthy people, and many times they would present their daughters at the balls when it was time for them to go into society. We're not going to rehash. But anyway, and Babylon, and a lot of the groups, motor groups, kind of specialize in the professionals that they actually recruited were members. And I remember that Babylon was predominantly some bankers as well as gentlemen in the retail trade. Now, we don't have much of that at all because we don't have much retail. But many of the men's stores that sold men's clothing, whether it's the salesman, the general manager, the owner, would always be involved with the crew of Babylon. It was always on a Wednesday night. It moved to Thursday, I believe, after Katrina. I'm not sure. They're not known for being the most benevolent when it comes to throwing things or creating new things. They do have throws. They have beads, doubloons, and other things. So I don't want to intimate that they're all, but they're not as generous as some of the other parades. Okay. But lastly, the highlight, the third parade, which is bad for us old fogies, it's called Muses. And Muses was one of the rivals to the one we just mentioned last night. It started a little bit before the one from last night, and they were very competitive. Always night one, and the following night the other. Muse's famous signature throw. I didn't say the signature throw of Nick's was purses. Ladies, with all the riders would can do up to 24 purses. When I say do, they either would rehabilitate them from a thrift store, buy them. I don't know how they did it, but then they would decorate them with glitter, create all kind of new creations that became individual, customized signature throws from each of the members. If you were lucky enough, and very, very much so, collectible items. Tonight is shoes. Did I say shoes? That was purses. Hopefully, I said purses for shoes. And this is fabulous. And what's really good, both of these have signature floats. Last night they had a huge ladies' handbag or whatever, and that's actually a float. It's one of the title floats, and there's people riding that. Tonight, it's really fun because the leading float is a giant um, LED encrusted ladies' high heel shoe. I'm sure stiletto. I don't know. I don't know all those terms, but enough to fit. I believe it's three people inside, and usually there's a celebrity and a grand marshal, might be the same person, and one or two other people who will throw things. But these LED lights will change colors from all pink to white, so it's truly a eye-opening, beautiful thing to watch. To see that giant shoe coming down the parade route, and that'll be the first thing. Then there'll be a queen of muses and maids. They'll have their floats besides the regular float riders, and they have, I don't know the exact number, but I will have that for tonight. So if you watch us, I'll be able to give you the title of each float as they come by. But it's a lot because it's in the high 30s, if not higher than that, whatever the maximum is. And they do have tandem floats. Another one of their really creative floats are what we call the ducks. They probably have a name for them, but I don't know. They started with just Mama Duck, which is monumental. If you see these things, they're very popular. Little plastic or rubber ducks. They're usually yellow, and nowadays they come in all kind of colors, designs. They might have sunglasses, hats, all kinds of stuff. These are giant float. Now, no one rides on it, but the mother is the lead float on wheels, followed by her pack or a nest, whatever you call it, of little ducklings. A single file, follow it. So it's truly a delight to see it. I mean, it's not 20, it's like 4 or 5. I don't pay attention to that. But it's just a magnificent float creation to really signify this particular group. In addition to that giant shoe at the front, this is near the middle, toward the end, and it's a great way to keep your interest going. Besides your chance at snagging a wonderful shoe or all the other, because they take that theme motif and create it into all things, in plastic necklaces, wristbands, watches. Amazing the creativity to show what they can do. And all these, remember, folks, are given away free. Now, not every person gives you everything you want, but because of the sheer volume of numbers of riders who throw things and the volume of people, you guarantee you and your children to get stuff. And that's what makes one of our New Orleans parades more unique, is that so many of these other parades don't throw. They might throw you a kiss, or they might throw you a wave. It's very sanitized and pretty. Their parade, whether it's Pasadena, the Rose Bowl, or some of these other parades throughout the nation. But New Orleans is known for feeding the greed or developing the greed in every human being, no matter what age or size they are. Whether it's the balloons, or it's an oval metal, uh, not worth any value or very little, dubbed with their crest and different colors, to all types of beads, to stuffed animals, to these signature throws that have now come into place. So many of the parades now has a signature throw where they'll pick a particular themed vessel and ask you to decorate it. And usually they ask you to decorate it in the overall theme of the parade and or the individual float you're on. So that way people will know where it came from. Uh, okay. So tonight is Muses. It's going to be super well attended. One, because we've been very fortunate. We've had cold spells, what we call cold spells, in the 40s and 50s as the high, usually 50s, on the weekends coming in on Friday. We'll do the same thing tomorrow. through the weekend and hopefully not through Mardi Gras, but at least very little to no rain. The last 4 days have been idyllic. In the daytime, almost 80s, which you might say that's too hot, but 70s with a light breeze, and last night was a low 70s or high 60s. Absolutely fabulous weather. So hopefully tonight we're still before that cold front comes in tomorrow, so we should have the same weather. So because of the phenomenal weather we're having, also some of this will be compensatory attendance, where people who all went to last night, formerly to last night's parades in the other previous 9 years, have now protested by either going to when the parade came, turning around and leaving, or not showing up. Hence, their crowds were less. So, even more reason for them to put the emphasis on tonight's parades and especially muses. So, we're expecting packed houses everywhere you go. For those who don't know, the routes have been changed this year because of still the lingering pandemic and the shortages of security personnel. So they all start on, except for one, on St. Charles and Napoleon and Britannia, which is 2 blocks off of St. Charles. Go up St. Charles, a historic street where the streetcar runs, we do not run during the parades. So you can actually stand on the what we call the median on the neutral ground, so you can watch the parades from both sides. Um, that the parades go then 45 blocks down to Canal Street, which was originally our major retailer. Big, beautiful double boulevard, palm trees running from north to south, and it turns on St. Charles to Canal for a few blocks, goes to usually Chapatulas, goes down about 10 blocks, and then disbands for them to go to their ball if they have such, or to an after dinner party. So that's the parade route. That's what's going on tonight. Again, we'd love to field some questions, comments. Don't hesitate to comment on your platform, whether it's about parades with a question or comment, or about dining. Whether it's the Mardi Gras time or not. Because I've been lucky enough to be able to eat out usually once or twice a day since I'm 16, 18 years old. So I have a pretty good feel for our restaurants. Now, we still, just like any city, we have a tremendous turnover always of new restaurants, but I specialize in that because too many of those restaurants didn't get an opportunity to afford advertising or to get established. So if you look back on my old shows from 2000 on TV, a lot of those might not be there anymore because some of them you may recognize the chef and recognize him or her, predominantly him, as a very young individual working maybe for someone else. But so because of that, and of course because I still have a propensity to eat out rather than not knowing how to cook and maintaining my weight in the wrong direction, then I do love to patronize, not only for my taste situation, but also to introduce other folks to restaurants. The good thing about if I tell you about a restaurant is, even though all restaurant reviews are basically subjective by the critic, if you want to use that term, but at least I'm not in the pocketbook or the purse or the wallet of the client being reviewed. I take no financial reimbursements. We do no advertising on our station. In fact, I have to pay to have like our streaming service, a monthly fee, a subscription to that. Just like when I was on TV, I had to underwrite the cost of being on my once a week hour-long show. So I'm not making any money to definitely say something good about a restaurant. And I have to admit, unless the restaurant is really absolutely horrible from all aspects, from ambiance, from hygiene, from food, from service, I can always find something in the restaurant that would taste good. And that's why when we do our restaurant shows, we don't do one item or two items. It's not a cooking show. So some people are very disappointed in that because they want to see that the most common thing is to see a chef cook a dish. It happens every morning on all 203 of our local channels. But what happens there is that they are cooking one dish. Usually they're doing it for a charity that is raising money, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, if you're only cooking one dish, especially with today's palate, There's so many beyond the carnivores, whether it be vegetarians, pescatarians. I don't even know all the names of the tarians. But by only showing one dish, you may uh, not necessarily alienate, but certainly not befriend those particular viewers that are not interested in the dish you're making. Plus, we're interested in people patronizing the restaurant that they work for or own. We're not interested in giving out recipes for you to do at home. That defeats the whole purpose for the chef or his restaurant. I mean, they do it because of demand and because sometimes of the requirements to be on their whatever source that they're actually showing their 5 minutes. Here they're getting a whole hour, no commercials, 12 to 20 dishes, starting with appetizers all the way through desserts with multiples of each. So you should be able, just like me, to find at least something, and sometimes many things, from the view. What you're seeing is the close up of the finished plate with the chef cook actually describing whether it's the combination of the ingredients, but the presentation, so you will know straight from quote unquote the horse's mouth, that horrible analogy, what that dish is all about. And you can always, when those days we called in on the TV regularly, people could call in. We didn't have internet, so we didn't have any up. Now we have both. Call in, that we only have one number, so we don't have a lot of availability, but we have multiple sources for you to text comment questions. And unfortunately, folks, I don't see much of that at all. I'm really disappointed, but I know we didn't publish this. I just popped on. I said, well, let me take my lunch period today or a little bit longer and do this. If I get too long winded like I do, after a while, I'm going to have to sign off. Uh, at the same time, we've been on 41 minutes. That's pretty good. But I was hoping that we would get some interest with regard to either Mardi Gras or dining, because I see a lot of it on the text. And I'm very hard to learn, being old, that people today, almost every group, not the older fogies like myself or near old fogies, prefer to type a text rather than talk on the phone or in reality to even talk to another individual. That's why you see these stereotypical situations of a whole family at breakfast at home. Each one's on the phone. The children sometimes are on the phone talking to each other, so the parents can't know what they're talking about. That's what our society's become. I'm not castigating it. I'm glad I won't be around for a hell of a lot longer, because my whole lifeblood, being half French or predominantly French and German, was to be sociable, hospitable, to chat, and to be of service. So, having very bad eyes since birth and being afflicted with a lot of old age diseases and things, I don't have that great ability to type. So I make a lot of mistakes, which I'm called down from the left and right. For people who don't know, I don't sit up there and preface my remarks with, I'm blind in one eye, deaf in one ear, and da 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 da. But at the same time, when they correct me, I just apologize. And sometimes I have the interest of retyping unless it's a long paragraph. Anyway, I'm not seeing a lot of response, not seeing any questions. I'm trying to think whether we'll sign off. Let's see, it's 12:42 here. Maybe I'll give it to one, and maybe it's a bad idea to do it at the lunch period, because you're out trying and dining in our favorite restaurants here in the city. Remember, we have about, I think it's up to 1,300 restaurants, so that's a hell of a lot, really. I guess I shouldn't use the word hell, but we have a lot. And what's good about New Orleans is that it appeals to all levels, economic levels. As we said, whether you go to a five-star restaurant, if you could afford such, which I was fortunately at last Saturday night, or just go to a sandwich shop, pull by shop, mom and pop deli, or mom and pop featured scheduled family meals. We have so many, such variety, and so many locations that you're bound to enjoy yourself. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of tourist traps, especially in the well-known French Quarter. Everyone knows the French Quarter with regard to wants to be there. Before I go into that aspect of it, I do want to go back and tell you one of the common misunderstandings, because Bourbon Street is signified as the place to be. That is Mardi Gras Central or Mardi Gras in toto. It's absolutely not. It's extremely well attended, overcrowded usually, predominantly with young college or youngsters who unfortunately like to imbibe liquid and or other elements. So it's very crowded. They don't have the parades. Do not the official type parades with floats, etc. Do not go into the French Quarter. Years ago they did, which was a wonderful. Oh my goodness, you couldn't beat that occasion. Being the small, beautiful architecture you're surrounded by. However, there were such tremendously fire hazards and fatality where people couldn't get to them in time, so they disbanded that back in either the '60s or the '70s. I forgot. My old mind doesn't have and able to delineate dates or decades, etc. Okay, let's see. Do we have? I thought I just saw a comment coming in. We are available to all of our platforms, so that's good. Please send us a comment if you like. I'm just going to say, send you a little message to see if anybody sees this. Here we go. Sorry, I put it in capitals. Uh, Many times I just type it by mistake, so it's not yelling at you or anything. So it's on definitely on some of our situations, but not showing all. I don't know the problem with that. But please give us a call, 504-383-3654, or comment, text any questions, any statements you want to make. That's what we try to do. Is we try to service people during this remaining 6 days, whatever it is, through Tuesday. We won't be here Tuesday, obviously. Weekends, I may or may not be able to do shows because we're doing so many streamings of the parades. Friday, I'll probably have availability during the day and maybe even the evening to do a similar show. So tell your friends or tell your family if you find out about it, no matter how you find out about it, try and watch. And more importantly, try and interact. Give us a call, give us a comment, ask that question. Uh, we're not going to be the only expert in the city. Our city loves one thing about the French history that spread to all nationalities that reside in New Orleans is the ability to brag about our city, to brag about its culture, to make you feel home. So when you finish that conversation, whether it's 5 minutes, 5 hours, you feel like you made new friends. And many times people have friends, have made those friends. New Orleans is such an infectious city. I know people who have come down here for either Mardi Gras or Jazz Fest or just to visit. One particular lady came out for Jazz Fest, which we're not talking about on this show unless you really have to know it. I'm not too well versed in that. But and she fell in such love with it, she called her realtor, sold her house over the phone, had the furniture shipped, and took up residence on the very first day or the second day of her visit here. How do you like that? That's an extreme situation. She had the financial resources to do such and the wherewithal. But so many people will come for a week or whatever, enjoy the heck, and not want to go back. Either delay their go back or, of course, schedule subsequent trips. One of our closest friends, she's from upstate New York. She came here to live about, I always get mixed up, maybe 12 years, I don't know, longer. Been a while. I can't, as I say, excuse my ignorance or ability, dementia, senior dementia. But she dreamed about it all her life. She would read books, see magazines about New Orleans, and she, in her marriages, would make it a point to come at least once a year, if not more frequently, to New Orleans. Uh, so that's what really is good about it. She stayed in one particular hotel, which is very well known, even though there's some hotels more well known and maybe a little bit more upscale, like the Ritz Carlton, which is newer, but the Roosevelt, which used to be called the Fairmont Roosevelt, magnificent place, a lot of history to it. But she stayed in another older one in the quarter called the Monteleone. And one of the famous parts, besides being run by the Monteleone family for years, and now they're just consultants, um, there's a bar downstairs, and it's called the Carousel Bar. What do you mean by it? It actually is a scaled down version. I don't know what scale because I'm not good at measurements of a carousel. Now you don't ride. There's not horses for you to ride. There's bar stools, but the key here is that the stools and counter that you rest your drinks, your food, or your heads actually makes a full circle, goes completely around. The bartender or tenders are in the center serving the drinks. They have regular serving tables that surround the carousel, as well as bringing food or whatever for the people who want to eat on the bar. But you'll see pictures of this all over with regard to yep, heck, I got to call you back. My hostess for the night was calling. I'm sorry, I told her I'd call her back. I apologize. But again, I don't want to stay on here too long, waste my whole day, because I do miss a few calls. But it's not a waste to me if you have anything to contribute or to learn from the program. So we try to be educational, informative, and probably lastly entertaining. So, but some of the things we show are very entertaining. Not necessarily me. I get enough criticism for me. So, but I'm saying bringing guests on or on other shows where we're showing the guests talent or their products or services they develop, seeing in depth, and that's my key. Is things should be done the old ways, in depth, not a 2 to 5 minute just because you want a TikTok video or Instagram a picture without sound. Even though I understand the visuals are so important and TikTok because of people's lack of ability. I say it's a lack of ability to focus anymore. Attention spans are so minute. That's why these platforms are getting shorter and shorter. And of course, that's why us old fogies are being squeezed out. Not that we're not allowed, but just nobody's going to watch. Even TikTok, I don't think you can have anything over 10 minutes, so we couldn't do our show anyway. But any of the ones that allow us, we certainly do. We broadcast. And if you can't see it, that way you can watch it on the platform of your choice, as long as we're broadcasting. Again, folks, would love to hear from you. 504-383-3654 with any question or comment, or go onto one of the platforms that you're watching us. Type in a text. I know you can type. You all type beautifully compared to me. I've got the bad vision, fat fingers, and autocorrect or whatever the silly phones do now to totally destroy any message or majority of the messages I send, unless it's a 2-word message. So don't be concerned. Don't be. A lot of you, I'm afraid to go. How you call in? We're not even putting your face on. It's just strictly using your own phone or wherever your phone and calling a local number. Hopefully, you have what do you call it? Unlimited cell, so that way you can talk on the phone. And also, if you're watching us on your phone or your laptop, and there's no Wi-Fi where you are, you would have unlimited data usage. Hopefully, so that way you can watch these long programs as well as call in or make comments. Again, my name is Bob Bockelman. It's too long to remember, except for one of the Facebooks are under my name, and that's BOECKELMAN. You can see us on Facebook. You can see us on 2 Facebook's group, Purple Posse, or the crew of Purple, Green, and Gold. But you do have to. Fortunately, these are not answering a lot of questions. Today, you got to get the 3rd degree to join a Facebook group. These are not. They're so happy to have people interested, local and out of town, that you just sign up and they almost immediately, if not instantaneously, while you're on there, approve you. So then you can watch it directly there. You can also watch on LinkedIn Live under R space REVUE, YouTube under R space REVUE, or Twitter under Bockelman Bob, backwards for some reason. All right, I see we have a couple of people still watching, but we haven't motivated them to make a comment or give a call. So it's 12:53. I'm going to sign off at 1. Who knows? I might come back on this afternoon. Not sure. We're hard pressed because I think we're leaving here about somewhere between 4 and 4:30 p.m. Central Time, because we've got to go to our lovely hostess who was just on the phone, her condo, which is right on St. Charles, for us to have dinner, and also for us to view the parades and live stream the parades. But remember, even though we'll be viewing 3 of the parades, more than likely we're only going to be live streaming muses. But it's a great parade, so if you know anyone who can't make it, give them the access, give them the way to get on the internet through their phone, their laptop, or their tablet, so they can watch what we do. But Seems like we lost a few people. So let's go ahead. They must have heard me say so. I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. It's Bob Bockelman, New Orleans TV Internet Work System, R Revue Productions, and Royal Revue will be the next program if we don't do another. This is called Rant, R-E-N-T Review, because it allows you to call in. When we do the Royal Review tonight, it will not be calls. It will not take call in because we can't hear you in the crowd. We do recognize the comments, and we were appreciative of those who commented last night. So we did either bring the comments on screen or certainly answer them and thank them and did whatever we could. All right, and tell you that this tonight or any future broadcasts, so please subscribe to that channel, R space REVUE, so you can continue following us not only through Mardi Gras, but all the way till you want to eventually give up on us. All right. Our motto is stay tuned and longer. Have a good day. Have a wonderful Mardi Gras. We love you.